Hello, hello. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, Brian.
So, how's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
So far, good.
That's good. Is anybody, are you guys aware of the shoot and share photography contest?
No.
No.
No? Okay. Well, it's too late to enter it, but it's a big photography contest. And when I say big, there's several thousand photographs on here. And you spend all day voting every day once they open voting up by just going through, and it shows you 4 images at a time. And you click on one that you like out of those 4, and then you go to the next 4, and you go to the next 4. And it becomes very addicting because I did it last night for like 4 hours. But it's pretty cool. It's a lot of portraits and a lot of wedding stuff, which I'm not very excited about, but a lot of kids and babies and that kind of stuff. I don't know what you win if you win it, but I know the people in the shoot and share Facebook page get really excited about it. So
it's mostly portraits.
It's mostly portraits or little kids' pictures. There is an animal category. So there'll be you'll see dogs and giraffes and horses and all that kind of stuff, cats, frogs. But there is a lot of portraits and weddings and that kind of stuff as well in it. It's very, I don't know, you can waste a lot of time looking at it if you want, but there's really good photographs in there.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Rex.
Hi, Rick.
Hey.
On the photographer's choice challenge,
Uh-huh.
is there just first place or is there first and second place? And does anybody actually say the winner of this month is besides the newsletter? So we can correct.
I've only been doing one.
You've been what?
I've only been recognizing the first place person, the one with the most votes,
Okay.
and I put them in the newsletter. Do you need them announced?
Well, you know, it's nice if people would congratulate them.
Well, last month's winner. Hold on. Right. It was her Candy Hearts. And that was for the February Reddit photo contest. And then for the photographer's choice, it was Jim with his swing set.
This month was, who was it? I know it was the Cherry Blossoms. Who did that?
Oh, I did that one.
You did the Cherry Blossoms for this month?
No. So for
April.
April, it was the crabapple. That was me. And the magnolia.
Okay. Then May. This is May.
I know, it was April.
April was the Cherry Blossoms by Jim
Thank
Mead.
you. By who?
Wait a minute, what? Okay, I'm like a month behind here.
You're confusing me, Marty, and that doesn't take
Well, that's because on my April.
Brian, who was it by?
Never mind.
Jim Meehan.
Okay.
And he's not on tonight.
The newsletter, sorry.
Not on tonight. What do you guys want to talk about tonight?
Somebody wants to say hi first.
Uh-oh.
Hi.
Hey, Nate.
Hi.
Hi, Nate.
You're giving your mommy a hard time, I hope.
Of course.
She doing your homework for you?
They can't see. Let me just take off the background.
No.
You like seeing him disappear and reappear.
Yeah, I can tell.
Like magic.
They're doing decimals now in math. So I'm relearning decimals.
Boy, I'm very talkative tonight. Have you
Well,
got?
I can tell you, I can fill in the blanks while y'all are thinking of something more significant, but I got a second box of slides to scan, and I'm working on them in the background. So I did 338, And I think I'm beginning to learn how the scanner and the software work.
You.
The one thing I've not been able to conquer is that the holder only will do 12 at a time, and I have to, down in the view scan software counter, I have to add what the next number is going to be. It will not, I can't do continuous scanning. Like you take your camera and you take 12, 13 shots of a subject, and then you go on and you take more, and then you go on and you take more somewhere else too. This can't do that. It gets done with it, the 12 slides that you've loaded into it, and after 12, and then you put in 13 for the next number, and then it does 24, and then you put in the next one, you put in a 25, and then it will do it'll do the next 24, 36. So, and you have to keep adding that next number, and you have to do it very carefully, or if you do it wrong, it'll take that image and it will put it somewhere else in the file. I mean, it'll be in the folder, but it will not be where it should be. So that was the one thing. Everything else is working fine in it, and I've figured out how to get the scanner itself to look at the different exposures and still come up with decent exposures. This is what we're looking at over my shoulder here right now. They can be very dark, they can be very light, and I have to say something about Kodachrome too. If I can get between the software and Lightroom to do the right thing, it's amazing. Even slides that have been deteriorating can be brought back, can be made to look good. Kodachrome 2 was a great film. The thing is, it was so slow. A lot of this, it wasn't her husband, it was her father. Her father's exposures were almost all slightly blurred because you needed shutter speeds like a 25th of a second or a 30th of a second. And not a lot of people knew that you can't jerk the shutter at a slow shutter speed. When you do that, you're going to get a little bit of a blur. There's going to be a ghost. There's going to be something that it's like a telltale that you can see in there. So even the sharp images sometimes will have a little bit of ghost in them. It's when we finally got into the ectochromes. Beth, you probably know even more than I do about those because I spent more time with T-Max, black and white, and films like that. But, well, I mean, in the studio, I was using VPS and VPH. But those old Kodachromes, when they came up with the ectochrome, the higher speed ectochromes, then the overall exposures began to look much better. So what did people come up with while I was thinking about all that?
I came across a Facebook post for a John Barkley black and white session. Can I show it?
Oh, wow. Yeah. For me, I vote yes.
You see that?
Yes.
And
I'm going to take my picture strip of everybody and myself off of there. So,
yeah,
okay.
it's three photographers. Sarah Marino, who I don't know, never heard of her. John Barkley, who I follow and is a pretty good black and white photographer, and Cole Thompson, who's also a pretty good black and white photographer, are going to talk about their process from going to the recorded image to the delivered black and white next Thursday at 6. And if you're interested in black and white, I put the link on Reddit.
Okay.
I'll see. I signed up for it. It's a Zoom session.
That'd be cool.
So, for your information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I love doing black and white. I've got this one up here in the upper corner of the screen. There is one of 3 that I did over at Fort Ligonier. And I was very happy with what Miller's did with those. We were talking about them last night. I really like their work. I can trust them. They do really great stuff.
Well, I like to hear what people who do black and white see when they look at an image and convert it to black and white. I'd like to understand that, what they find significant and how they handle it, and just hear what they see when they work on an image.
Well, this session will probably help us a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think you might want to sign up. I don't know what the interest is. I don't know what the audience size is.
We'll find out.
Anna Joe signed up.
Thursday at 6.
Yeah, but you need to register.
Oh, I'll register. Yeah. And is that information that you have up there enough to get signed in? If
you go to Reddit, the link is at Reddit.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. Okay, have to find it in Reddit.
Well, it's in WWPS collection. It's not hard to find.
Okay.
Dennis, you may want to check that link. I've clicked on it and it keeps telling me that there's nothing there on the page.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It says this page isn't available.
Oh. I'll check on that.
Okay.
I got an email from, what is that, the South Alleghenies, that was supposed to be, that big opening was supposed to be, I think, next weekend up in Laredo. They have decided to postpone the whole show until next year at March.
A lot of that going around.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody, I think Beth shared it too, but I saw on Facebook that the 4th of July festival at Twin Lakes is not happening this year.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I seen the shared post on that one.
Huh.
Was it the 39th year or something it was supposed to be?
I think it's like 49th or 46th or something.
Yeah, it was in the 40s. Now if you say that, yep. I seen today a post that Ohio is opening up their restaurants and their places to get your hair cut.
Mm-hmm.
So who wants to go for a trip to Ohio?
Yeah.
Too expensive. Last time I went, spent way too much, thanks to Brian and DL.
I was just going to say, YM Camera opens up on Saturday again.
It's an ulterior motive.
One of the guys at work told me that his wife was going to go up to West Virginia because there you can get your hair cut up there. So she went up to go to one of the places, one of the like Fast Cut or whatever the different ones are, and they asked her for a driver's license. And when she had a Pennsylvania driver's license, they told her they couldn't cut her hair.
Oh no!
I know one of the ladies I work with. We went back to work this week, and she said her daughter lives in Ohio. And they take a drive on like Saturday for like a couple hours to get away from the kids. Their kids are all older. They can be home alone. And they drove back here to get pizza at Joey-O's. And they were astounded at how the people in Pennsylvania were out and about. They said in Ohio, nobody's leaving their houses for anything. They are... In Pennsylvania, they were like the people that were out. They said it's crowded here.
Yeah, it is.
I've got one for you. I'm going to see my doctor tomorrow on Facebook. It's going to be a Facebook doctor's session. It'll be my first one. I don't know if I'm supposed to bring a scale or a blood pressure meter or a thermometer to stick in my mouth, or am I going to have to turn my camera light on and stick it in my ear? It's going to be interesting. I had my blood work done today. That was very interesting, walking in there and seeing they have got it. It was over at Excella Express, and they've got it well put together. They are very careful. They gave me the IR temperature check as I walked through the double doors to go in, and otherwise it was absolutely normal. Except everybody had a mask on. Everybody.
Why do they waste their time with checking temperatures when there's so many people out there that shows no signs, including temperature?
Yeah, but it gets the people who do show signs.
So you can walk in there with no signs and still have coronavirus.
Yeah, but you can walk in there with a temperature and have coronavirus.
You're right. That's
Or
right.
at least get some
Yes.
people.
Yeah,
The temperature is a positive.
that's right.
It's something they can check.
The earlier the indications are, the safer everybody is.
I did a little researching, Brian, about that Lightroom print. Trying to center that picture. I went and looked at Laura Shu video, and apparently you cannot center that picture.
Thank you very much. Now you guys understand my complete total disappointment with Lightroom print module.
Yeah.
Now, if you have two pictures there, it will line up if you go over there and do your graph, you know, and it will line up with the two pictures, one on top of the other. It will snap into place, but not if you have one picture and you're trying to center it. Just no. She says, no, it won't happen.
Well, but if you just do a single image print, it'll put it in the center of the paper, but you can't move it.
No, you can move it.
Well,
And
I think there's a couple, you can
center.
do this grouping print. If you print a single print, Lightroom puts it in the center of the paper you've chosen.
I don't know. It just does not work out as easy as it should, considering
Well, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it won't snap. It won't snap in
considering
place.
the way that
It won't snap into place like what Brian was trying to do.
Yeah. Well,
So
let
she
me,
tried to snap it and she says it doesn't work. It'll get you so far, depending upon if it's centimeters, you know, or inches or whatever, it'll get you so far on that graph. But then you're going to have to manually move it to the center. And that's what she was showing.
yeah. And like I said, I mean, considering what Adobe is and how their other stuff works, you would think that that would be something that would be a simple, easy thing to add to that, so that you can find the center of the page that you're working on.
Yeah.
And that's just like I said, that's a pet peeve of mine. I do not like that process.
yeah, can I have the screen back again?
Yeah, go right ahead.
You see my Lightroom screen?
Yes.
I see it. Looks good. Can we get rid of the picture strip of ourselves here?
Yeah. But if I
Yeah.
hit print, I get a print on the paper that I want to print on in the center of the screen. Now, I can't move it, but it puts it in the center of the screen.
Yeah, we know that part. What we were talking about going over there, oh gosh, you have to open up the guides and etc. We had it on the guides. We adjusted the picture to the size that we wanted. And where is, help me out here, Brian.
Well, it's a different thing. What Dennis is doing a single print.
That's right.
That's
right.
And we
I-
were talking about the other. Yeah,
I
we would.
don't do any of the layout printing, so I don't know how that works.
Right.
As far as a single image on a piece of paper, it does, and you can adjust the margins, and you can change the paper size.
Right, right.
And I would agree with you. I don't like the way it works. I use Photoshop to print.
Yeah.
But it does do what I expect it to do, except I don't do any of the layouts or anything like that.
Well, when I put it on the grid, I went ahead and tried to move my picture around after I made my picture such and such size. And it would not center it. And that's what Brian was trying to do last night. And it wouldn't do it. And same with Laura's shoes. She says you can't center it. You have to get it close, and then you have to do it manually.
If you want to center it, it's easy to do. Just print a single image.
Well, if you want 2 or 3 pictures on there.
Well, then you don't want it in the center.
No.
The top picture I would want centered.
No. Well, if you were doing a collage, okay.
Right.
A vertical.
But you're not to be using Lightroom really for a collage of prints. That's a Photoshop thing. But the issue that I was having is if I want to do the borders around the picture and then add the text at the bottom, and I want my picture further up in the, like we were doing last night, where we were putting the picture higher in the frame and giving us room at the bottom.
Yeah.
For that to happen, there's no way to center that photograph.
Right.
But and Dennis, I was aware that if you just do a single image print on a sheet of paper, when you throw the picture on there, if it's smaller, it will center it automatically.
Yeah.
If the picture's the same size as the sheet of paper, it fills the whole paper up.
Yeah.
That is true. But once you decide you want to do the other stuff, like adding the border and the printing and the logos and all that kind of stuff, it limits you. You can't do it. You can't make it stay in the center.
Yeah, it won't snap to the center.
Yeah. But like I said, that's one of the issues I have with that print module. I would rather put it in Photoshop. It'll tell me where the center is.
Yeah.
You know, but Lightroom's not it's a really good program, but it's not the only program out there, and it's not the best program.
Yeah.
They're for different things. Certain things you need to use other programs for, and in my opinion, printing is one of those things that works better in Photoshop.
Yeah, I agree.
Beth posted a link to that John Barkley seminar that I think works.
That's what worked for me.
Yeah.
So hopefully it works. Now, Facebook links are like so long that
Yeah.
Is it a limited number?
it doesn't say anything about number. It just says that you have to be registered to do it.
All right.
Beth, where you posted that on Reddit?
Yeah.
I posted it as a comment to Dennis's post.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I used his link, like John Barkley's link within his post,
Okay.
and I'm signed up for it.
Yeah, that did work better. So that is what did we say, next Thursday night?
At 6.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and we don't know how long it is, do we?
Well, my guess is an hour,
Okay.
but I don't know that for a fact.
All right, because that was actually one thing I wanted to ask you guys this evening. The SWG Light meeting, would you guys mind if we moved it to Wednesday evenings? This meeting that we're in tonight, the Let's Talk a Little Bit meeting.
Okay, May 14th, Monday, Thursday.
What's that?
May 14th is a Thursday? Yeah, it is. Okay. I don't care. We have a meeting Tuesday, right? Next Tuesday?
Mm-mm. We don't have meetings on Tuesdays. Come on.
I mean, Monday?
We do have a meeting Monday. Yes, our regular meeting.
Yeah, Monday.
Because they're asking me to work Thursday nights too. And I'm off on Wednesdays by 5 o'clock, so it doesn't matter no matter what on Wednesdays.
I don't care. It sounds good to me.
I-
don't-
Okay with me.
Yeah,
Works for me.
Thursday.
I guess I'm the only dissenter.
White.
What's that?
Wednesdays are bad for me, that's all.
DL, I can't seem to ever satisfy you.
Have you tried?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start next week with the SWG Light evening meeting on Wednesdays. And that way I can work my bonus hours and extra hours that they're letting me do right now.
So they're all going to be on Wednesdays now?
The SWG Light meeting, all the other meetings will stay the same, exactly the same. Just this,
Room is on a Wednesday too.
huh?
The light room is going to be on a Wednesday, so we won't need the light swig that.
Right. Yes.
Unless you want to hold two different meetings.
No, I'm good, but I'm not that good. I can't hold two meetings at the same time.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm finding I have. I've got a Zoom meeting with another organization at 6 p.m. So I don't know. I guess I can break away by 7 and be in it. This is the Val.
Yeah, this meeting here, Rex, I mean, it's not like it's a structured thing. It's just us getting together to talk a little bit. So
I know.
if you pop in a little later, that's perfectly fine. Or if you're here for 10 minutes and go, you know what, I don't like what they're talking about tonight, I'm going to go do something else, leave.
Well, they usually don't make it to 8 o'clock anyway. So not a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll come in about 7:30 or 8, something like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Brian, are you thinking about the normal SWG meeting that's the last Thursday?
That
Are
will
you
stay
going to
the
move
same.
that to Wednesday too?
Nope, that will not change. That all our
You
regular
can make that one.
exactly the same.
Okay, you can make that one, I guess.
Yeah, I'll tell them I'm not working at night. That's all.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I just can't tell them I can't work every Thursday night, kind of thing.
Right.
So I can get away with a couple nights in a month and say that I can't stay there till 8 o'clock, but I can't get away with 4 or 5 or 6 nights in a month, because the Monday night meeting, like next week, I would have to leave early. I have to leave early for that meeting because we stay open till 8 o'clock on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Thursday nights. So if I go telling them I need one Monday a month and all 4 Thursdays, they're not going to like that. So I can get away with one Monday and one Thursday. They don't seem to have a problem with that.
Sounds good.
One of the other guys is one of the other salesmen. His normal day off is Thursday. So if I tell him I need Thursday evening off, he has to change his day off to another day because I don't want to. So I'm trying to satisfy a bunch of people all at the same time.
Are those 12-hour days for you?
Hold on one second. I'm getting my evening call from Elwood City, and I have no idea who this person is. They call every night. What was the question, Margie?
Were those nights you work 12 hours?
I work 9 to 8 on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
All right. Almost 12.
Yep. And right now they're actually paying me overtime and everything, and they're telling me to work. I'm working 6 days a week. So while I can get it, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Since I spent a month off with no unemployment or any income at all. So we'll see what we can do.
Anybody else gone out taking pictures where there isn't a crowd?
Yeah,
Where?
not great pictures, and it was more bike ride than pictures, but on days that it's not actually raining, Nate and I are going to the bike trail, the Greater Allegheny Passage Trail. Because if we go over to Smithton, there's a parking area there that it's practically no one seems to know about it anyway. But it's only about 2 miles down from Cedar Creek. And you can go either direction and go practically forever on it. But there's a couple of little waterfalls. There's, it's pretty and it's outside. So as long as it's not raining, we'll probably do that.
Is it someplace you can let the dogs run loose while you're walking?
No, dogs have to be leashed.
All right.
How do you get to that one, Beth? I've ridden on the trail down to Smithton, but I didn't see any way to get on the trail from Smithton area.
The parking area is off of 981, and I don't know how familiar you are with driving from 51 down 981 into Smithton, but just at the top of that bridge, because you go down that really huge hill, at the top of the bridge, there's this tiny little driveway off to the side that goes down to a parking area. And it's actually a pretty big parking area. And
it's
then
off of 980.
Right on 981.
Oh, okay.
Is that towards Keystone?
No.
So it's the opposite way?
Yeah, it's over by
Mosier Lake?
by Route 51 and Ross Draver and Cedar Creek and
Okay.
all of that area. Because the Gap Trail follows the Yawk from pretty much most of the Yawk, I think.
There's Route 51 and 981. And I do believe you're talking about that road right there.
No.
Road?
Oh wait, is it?
Yeah, because this green line right here is the Allegheny Pass.
Yeah.
Smithton Beach Road.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where the parking area is, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's really tough to see if you're not really looking for it. You're not going to notice the little driveway because it goes down a really big hill right there too. Yeah.
It's right there.
Yep. There's a small little sign that says trail.
Yeah.
How are the trails? Are they steep, up and down?
It's practically flat.
Oh, yeah.
Light grade.
It's perfect for walking, for biking, the whole bit, because it's a rails to trail type trail. It's about, I don't know, a lot of it is pretty much 8 feet wide. You can even see in that picture.
That's the same trail that goes through Ohio Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes from Pittsburgh to DC, I think, or almost DC.
Yep. Cool.
Okay.
Is that Beth's car there, that white one?
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah.
My cars are always blue.
You know, I never thought about that, but now that I think about it, they are all blue.
Yep. The ones before were blue too, except for my first car.
I've had blue and green and black and red and white. And probably a couple that were multiple colors too.
Is that rust?
Every shade of Bondo.
Well, about 90% of them had some rust.
Oh, that was my son's car. My son had a Bondo Mustang.
Marty, are you still making masks?
Yes, I am.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yes, I am.
If I send you some money, you want to send me a couple?
I guess I could do that.
Okay, I'll get back with you.
All right. Yeah, just give me a call.
Okay. Are they elastic or tie?
I'm making Thai ones.
Okay, that's fine.
I like them very much. Well, I like it very much. I have one, and I use it every day because they require me to have it. I don't actually put it on, but I have it tied around my neck, so it's there if I have to put it on.
But you can't have customers, can you?
Well,
In the shop?
here's the wonderful insight of the government in Pennsylvania. I see people laughing. The wonderful insight is that the service department is allowed to be open, and people can come in to get their cars worked on, and they're allowed to go in and sit down in the waiting area as long as they stay there 6 feet away and they wear their mask. But I'm not allowed to have a customer come in to buy a car.
Mask or no mask?
In the same building.
Well, it's hard to twist their arm, 6 feet away.
So I once again, I am completely flabbergasted as to the rules and regulations of the social distancing and what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do. So service can come in, they can walk up to the counter, they can make appointments, they can get their car worked on, they can have all the service done, they can go into the parts department and wait at the counter and pick up parts and all that, but they can't buy a car unless I do everything on the telephone and not allow them in the building.
Isn't that just between what's essential and what isn't? The idea is if your car needs repair, it's essential to get food and things. I think that's the reason people abuse it and go in to get an oil change. So
I understand that, but they also said we're allowed to sell cars. So if we're allowed to sell cars, what makes a difference?
Yeah.
Less social contact, the better.
It's essential that you be able to buy a car if your car breaks down and you can't get it fixed and you need to buy one. Isn't that an essential thing?
That's when he can call you and work out a deal. You can give him a good deal.
Right.
Then all I have to do is show up and sign some paperwork and leave.
Right.
So they're in there real quick.
But they still have to come in.
True.
And then next week, if they want to come back and get accessories put on, that's fine. They can come and hang out there all day and get their accessories put on.
Do they have to wear masks in the waiting room?
Yes. So why not wear a mask when you come in to buy a car?
True.
You know what I mean? It's just.
Yeah, but it's tough to draw a firm line everywhere is the problem.
Right.
And people are supposed to exercise common sense, but the reality of it is most people don't. I can't tell you how many people I see out with masks on below their noses. I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I mean, why bother?
It's sort of like the nurseries. The nurseries are allowed to be open, but the garden centers are not allowed to be open. It's all in the name, the way you registered it. Of course, Home Depot and Lowe's is an exception.
Here's one. I just drove by in Uniontown. There's a Gabe's. That's a clothing store, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
It evidently is an essential clothing store compared to JCPenney's, because JCPenney's has to be closed, but Gabe's is allowed to be open.
Yeah.
What does Gabe's have that?
Exactly. What's the difference? There is no difference.
Yeah. Or who owns Gabe's that?
That's the difference.
He got a waiver, maybe? Or they got a waiver?
Or it could be they're just staying open, saying fuck it to everyone.
Discount?
And they just haven't got caught yet.
No, because I mean, if this is Gabe's, it's not a little store in a shopping center.
Maybe it's selling second quality merchandise.
Maybe.
Oh, it is.
I can't understand it. And then we sat down today with the rules and regulations of the difference between red, green, and yellow and purple and
Yeah.
whatever other color they're using.
Yeah, what is, I mean, they say
And-
they're opening up stores in the yellow now. I
Yeah.
don't understand.
If you're in the yellow, you're allowed to open your stores and you're allowed to sit face to face 6 feet away.
Masked. Yeah.
Yeah, with your mask on.
Yeah.
Everything right now from now on is going to be with the mask on. So that's,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But at the same time, if you walk into a store and my one manager has given up on wearing a mask, and he walks into a store and they say, you have to wear a mask. And he says, no, I don't. Keeps on going. There ain't nothing they can do about it. They can't tell you. They can't kick you out of the store.
Actually, they can.
Actually, they can.
Yeah,
They can.
Yeah.
They can.
All
Technically,
he has-
you're on their property. They can tell you to leave for
No.
whatever reason they want.
I'm sorry. All he has to say is, I have a medical condition, and keep on walking. By the HIPAA Act, you're not allowed to ask what that medical condition is.
That's a whole lot of bother to be
Yeah.
an idiot.
Yeah,
quite
but they can still have them escorted out.
No,
They have
they
to call. They have to call a cop. That's all.
Call a cop. And there's no reason you
Yeah.
shouldn't have a mask on. I don't care
I
what
watched the
medical
same thing
condition he
happen to
has.
Giant Eagle a couple days ago. Of
Yeah.
course, this kid was making a big scene and getting people's faces and shit like that. So
That doesn't help.
That'll do
Yeah.
it anyway.
yeah, he got forcibly removed.
Well, that's a different story. I mean, if I walk in a store and say I'm not wearing a mask and just keep on going, mind my business, do my thing, and walk back out, what's the deal? Because
They're not
even,
letting you in.
even
Yeah,
if you
people
read,
at the doors.
here's the other thing though. If you read the information from the government, from the government,
CDC?
it says it is highly recommended that you wear a mask. It does not say that it is required by law.
Well, the
Go and look
CDC
that
can't
up. That's the
require it.
truth.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I always wondered about is like the stores will say you have to have a shirt on and shoes on to come in here. And they
Right,
can kick you out for that.
right.
No, the CDC has been recently modified by politics.
Mm.
Well,
It's not the same CDC that it was.
And I agree 100% with that. But like I said, anywhere you read the actual rule, it says it is highly recommended that you wear a mask. It does not say that it is required by law.
I think the stores can require it.
Yeah.
Those are by invitation, it's private property.
Well, and again, yes, and I'm playing the devil's advocate. I have a mask. I wear it around my neck. When I go into store, I put it on. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm not the
Well, that
devil.
makes
I'm
sense.
not doing it.
Well,
You really should be wearing the mask when you're driving.
another thought is,
I should wear one when I'm driving.
I said you should not wear one while you're driving.
Oh,
Yeah.
You don't. Yeah, it's not. You're in your own
like the
cocoon,
guy that I seen wearing a
own bubble.
driving the other day.
especially if you're in the Batmobile.
Well, that mask is on upside down. That covers his eyes. Not his nose.
I knew we'd hit a good moment
Yeah, I
in
didn't
here
think of
somewhere.
that.
Hey, I seen a guy wearing a scuba mask the other day driving down the highway. So the best part is he was in.
Yeah,
Oh, that would suck if he were to sneeze.
The best part was he was in the car by himself. I don't know.
So you thought, right?
It is what it is. A lot of people have opinions about it, and people are going to do what they're going to do. It's just all there is to it.
Well, the sad part is people are out there not keeping the distance between each other and not wearing the mask. And then you think of all of the medical personnel. I've got friends, I got family who are nurses that are fighting, trying to save people's life. And you got idiots out there that are not doing what they should be doing to prevent the spread. So we lost too many of the medical, in the medical field because of these idiots. They think only about themselves and they're not thinking about other people and what they are going through.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Not wearing a mask says I don't care about anybody else, not about you. It's not an individual choice thing. It's the right thing to do for other people.
That's
I
right.
agree.
Yeah, everyone's got to help everybody.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to.
That's right. That's right.
That's not the world we live in.
I know it's not, but
Okay, on a lighter side of things, let's get away from politics.
Good idea.
There's a group that I follow on Facebook that I'm going to show you right now. It's called Promptography. Promptography is the name of their group.
Oh, how neat.
And basically, the group itself is mostly portraits and stuff like that. But the idea of it is that you as the photographer give the subject a prompt, and then let them figure out how they want to deal with that, and then you photograph it. But I seen some pictures. There's a group of pictures right here that I thought were pretty cute. I thought you guys would like to see it. That was a pretty nice one. I like that.
I like that.
As long as it's in someone else's house, okay.
Exactly.
You know,
It's
Margie,
like my house when the G kids were little.
I was just going to say, Margie, you have a nice center in your kitchen. Just like that. Can we come practice this?
Hey, I've already done it with Marissa and Caitlin. I love having food fights with them, and we've thrown eggs at each other and flour and water, and we had to skid around on the floor. It's fun. Not fun cleaning up, but it's fun. So
Nate
You know,
wants to have a food fight.
well,
I'll
let
send
them
him over.
have it.
I don't know if I can find it, but when I worked for Timeless Photography, when Carol and I were working over there, helping them get things going, one of the things that one of the clients wanted was water being thrown from overhead. She's sitting, I think, in a swing on a tree. I have to look and find it, but the idea was to throw water from a bucket up over the top and come down and get her. Now, she had an umbrella, so we were throwing water on her, but it was very similar to that first one you showed in spirit anyway.
Yep.
The theme was the same thing. It was getting wet.
If you look here under the name here, this is the prompt that she gave them. Dry touch the ceiling with the flower, Isaac. Don't let him get you, Anna or Arabella. So that's what they ended up with.
That's cute.
Oops.
I like that one. That one's pretty cool.
Yeah. Aw.
So
I like pictures like this.
the
Not models.
the prompt was kiss your little kitten.
Aw.
Yeah, it looks like she put some makeup on too.
Yeah.
Her lipstick and eyeliner.
Yeah.
Yep. I like it though. It definitely looks like a lot of us in the morning, I believe.
She's ready for the walk of shame. That's the first thing that popped in my head. Oh,
Yeah. Well, that looks like it's gonna hurt.
I hope he doesn't have hot coffee in his cup.
Yeah, I was wondering where that coffee was going to go.
I know. Oh my gosh, it's gold. Don't let her have it.
So that's where all the toilet paper went.
That's it.
Oh.
Go back one. Go back one. And look at that sink. It's like a water fountain.
It may be a water fountain. It does look like it, yeah.
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 It is a sink. It's a regular sink too. I see
Yeah, I see the water coming out of it, but it does look like it could have been a water fountain. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
The little picture up there is the one that you showed right before.
it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Good catch there.
Yeah.
Notice that.
Boy, I could use those two kids. This must be by the same photographer.
Yeah, these are all by the same photographer, but that's the kind of haircuts we all need right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Flowbee for sale.
I have one.
There's
That's what I use. That and a regular shaver.
I'm about to use my beard trimmer and just cut all my hair off and then shave it down.
Well, like what she's holding there. That's I have it with the different pieces that fit on it, and then I have the Flowbee for when it's really sticking out.
Hey, if I bring a 6-foot long stick, can you tape it to the end and then cut my hair off?
For $25.
Hey,
No problem. I'll give you $25.
let me do it.
$5, that's a bargain. What are we talking about?
We'll want to make that a camera session.
Yes.
Everyone has to bring long lenses. You have to stand out in the driveway to do that.
That's nice.
Pretty. Very soft.
Every one of them is lit really nicely. It has a subtle color quality to it, a very classic color balance to it.
Yeah, this person, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but this person is a pretty darn good photographer.
Yeah, look, you don't have any glare or anything from the window. It really was nice. You see?
Yeah.
It's that's good.
I'd say they added some light beams in there too. If you notice, there's some going on here.
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
I'm curious. I keep looking at this one. I'm wondering if that's a backdrop and not an actual a window.
Might be.
Could be.
Because of the way it curves at the bottom. I know the curtains curve out, but the floor looks like it's kind of, I don't know at angle.
The shadow's a little squirrely.
Yeah.
The baseboard doesn't look quite right.
Yeah.
It's a nice photo though.
Oh, it's stunning, but it's just something about it kind of looks like it's concave.
Well, I know what we used to pay for props, and I'm looking at that rocking horse, and that is probably a $500, $500 horse. That's not a cheap prop.
You know, Melissa, the more I look at that, I agree with you. That is a backdrop.
Yeah.
If you look at the shading here in the edges in that, and then look at that flower, that's not real.
The angle of that windowsill, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like it's
the curtains, they've definitely hung down over top of the backdrop. But that is, I would say that you're right. That is a backdrop. It's still very well done.
Yeah.
And a good catch.
Yep. That's a good action shot.
Yeah.
Again, very classic color balance to it. Very classic color balance, and the lighting in the shadow areas is very visible.
It almost gives you that the film look to it.
It does.
The clouds look interesting. Go back to the one with the rocking horse. Yeah, it looks very similar.
I'm not the only one picking up on that cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The blue of the sky is the same exact blue.
Yep.
I think the girl on the right looks composited in.
She kind of does.
Yeah, there's a halo around her knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, you caught that.
This is something about the focus, because when you look at the grass right near her, it's not the same amount of sharpness.
Hmm.
You know, she's very creative.
Mm-hmm.
She is, and her photos, you really have to look at them to catch anything that she might have worked in.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think, guys? You think that one's real or not?
I don't see any reflection from the dog or the kid in the glass.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
look,
but the,
admire her control for lighting. Look at the backlight on the edge, the top edge of the dog and the top edge of the little girl's hair.
Yeah.
Look how that light has to come from outside. Even if that was actually a studio shot and that out back area is actually just a canvas that's hanging, she knew where to put the lights in order to make the main light appear to come from behind. Yet she had to light the front of it with something, and she didn't overdo it. It looks real. It's believable.
I think if you look here, right along the kid's stomach, you can see the reflection of the kid in the window.
Glass. Oh, okay. Can't see that.
yeah.
Yep, I see it.
And right above the dog here, there's a wee little bit in that glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it now.
Really sharp.
I like the kid in the high chair's expression. Oh,
What's going on?
am I next?
That's a different way of bobbing for apples when you're getting water at the same time.
That's the
I
new
think
form
that's
of
called having a brother.
I can say I wouldn't mind having a slice of that pie over there on the right-hand corner.
I have to say, I think these kids really have a good time.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, one thing that I see in this picture that I absolutely don't like is the cup sticking out of the top of that kid's head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the plate embedded on the other side.
What was that on the other side? I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said the plate's embedded in his head on the other side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That caught my eye more than the cup, actually. You're right. That's the only thing that's wrong in that composition of that picture.
Yep.
Now, there's nothing wrong with pouring water on your sister's head while she's bobbing for apples.
No, not at all.
No.
That's a good one. I like that one. Anyhow. All right, I wanted to show you those. I come across them and thought you guys would like to see those. That's some pretty good shots.
Yeah, they are.
Even if some of them are made up, they still were made up quite well.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
5D.
Yeah, I saw that too.
What was it?
I didn't miss that. 5D.
It's a Canon.
Yeah, also with a 35 millimeter, 24 millimeter, or an 85 millimeter. So notice they're all prime lenses too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Anyhow, if you're on Facebook and you want to join that group, it's a nice group to keep an eye on. There's a lot of great photos in there, and I like the way they do it. You have to, if you post a photo in that group, you have to tell them what your prompt was for the person getting their picture taken. It's part of the rule, but it's called promptography. It's one of the 9,000 groups that I belong to on Facebook. Anybody else got anything going on and want to talk about?
I was going to, while you were all talking, I was going to see if I could find that picture from Timeless Expressions. It may still be in the file, but I'll be looking.
Okay. Dennis, I got your email about that.
Greg Ben's thing.
Is that what it was?
Clarity versus.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to take a look at that because I was at work all day, but I will take a look at that after.
Yeah, it's not a bad. It's just a few minutes.
Okay. Is it something we should just play on here tonight? We can.
Up to
Yeah,
you.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Greg Benz is the guy who wrote Lumenzia, that program that does the luminosity masking. And he's got an abundance of videos because he's got a lot of tools, but you need to know how to use the tools. And he did, I thought, a pretty good articulation of the difference between clarity and dehaze. I think it was dehaze. What's the third one? Clarity, dehaze, and one more slider.
Structure?
What?
Fringe?
Texture?
Texture.
Yeah.
And texture and clarity. It's worth a watch.
All right. All right, I got it loaded up here while you were talking, so let me share that guy over to you guys. And you should be able to see it, I guess.
In this tutorial, you'll learn all about the amazing new texture slider available in Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw, which we'll use to process for a better water foreground in this scene. But before we get to a real image edit, let's look at a couple test images to understand the differences between clarity and texture. In this first test image, we've got both landscape and cityscape elements, which makes it a great way of comparing these different tools. So let's right-click on our raw image, create a new smart object via copy. We'll simply call this one clarity, and double-click to go in and adjust the clarity. Sliding to the left, of course, will remove detail. In this case, notice there's some artifacting look to the trees and the buildings, not very helpful, but in some cases, negative clarity can enhance an image by removing details. More likely, you're going to push it to the right to bring out more detail, and somewhere around this 30% mark looks pretty good for this image, but if we push it all the way to 100, we'll be able to better see the differences between clarity and texture. So let's over-adjust this on purpose, just for the sake of comparison. We'll now right-click the raw, create another new smart object via copy, rename this to texture, double-click it, and if we bring texture to the left, we also remove detail, but notice we do so in a way that's a little bit more pleasing. It doesn't create as much artifact, which makes it great if you wanted to smooth out noise in the road. Perhaps there was some glass or metal detail you wanted to smooth out. And certainly if you're doing portraiture, it's a great way to do skin softening and just clean up the skin on a close-up portrait of people. But again here, we're going to push to the right to add texture to this scene, and just a little bit would be the right answer, but we're going to push all the way to 100% just to make it easier to compare these tools. Click OK, hit Command 1 to zoom into 100%, and let's hide these layers so we're now looking at just our original raw. When we turn on 100% texture, it's doing just what we would expect. The grass has more texture, the tree leaves have more texture. It's not really adjusting the road or buildings or other parts of the image in a problematic way. Just from before and after really brings out a lot of detail. Of course, it's too much. If we were back down around that 30 to 50% mark, you'd have a more pleasing adjustment, and that would be the right answer, but we're just going to push it all the way so we can really see what's going on. Now, as I compare these, notice the saturation here and here in these reds is getting overdone. So one of the drawbacks with texture is you might have to knock down the saturation a few points just to counteract what it's doing there, but in general, it's not too much of an issue. Let's turn this off and take a look at clarity, which is doing something completely different. It's bringing out the bigger edges of these trees. So rather than bring out the little individual leaves, it's looking at bigger details and creating a lot of structure, which creates nice separation between the trees. You can really see one tree to the next in this image. So I like the effect of clarity, but it's not without some issues. Notice how bright the road is getting. It's a little bit distracting there. And notice also the shadows in the trees are getting punishingly dark because clarity really pushes them down, which you can offset by adding plus 30 to 50% shadows oftentimes. A lot of shadow adjustment in RAW can counteract that clarity problem there. So that's kind of the first look at how these things look on nature. Let's zoom over and look at the city skyline itself. Clicking on texture, again, does a really nice job. It's adding crisp, clean lines to these buildings. Looks much more sharp to the eye with no obvious halos. It is pushing up the saturation. Notice the blues of the building and the oranges in the reflection here are getting a little punchy. So again, you may want to dial back the saturation with texture, but things look really good and it doesn't have a lot of negative issues. By way of comparison, turning on clarity also adds a lot of detail, but in this case, a lot of problems. Look at the highlight colors here. They're getting washed out, it's losing color. Certain things like the edge here, this new siding, which is not really an important detail to us, is getting much brighter than it should. There is the beginning of some halos. The clouds are looking a little dark. Sometimes you'd see a lot more halo than this. That's not too bad. But the thing that really bothers me in this scene is look at the building here from top to bottom and top to bottom here, from before where there's even toning in the building to after with clarity where it's darkening the top edges to create more contrast against the brighter sky, or here where it just starts to look really dirty on the building. So in this case, I think clarity is really kind of letting us down by changing these big buildings in a way that doesn't look so nice, whereas texture is going to bring out a lot more of that texture in just a clean and simple way without the halos, without those building issues. So I don't think either one of these is necessarily better. They're just doing different things for the image. And to help better understand that, I created this test image. So I've got this pattern here viewed at 100%. We've got noise up top, gradient going from dark to light, left to right, and then down below different test stripes. These have the same high and low values as the gradient, but they're starting with 1 pixel stripes on the left, then 3 pixels, 10 pixels, and 50 pixels over here on the right. So we can turn on clarity to see what it's doing, and notice that it adjusts midtone contrast quite a bit, and is really punching up these smaller details from before to after, as well as causing an uneven result in the grain. See how the grain is getting darker on the right than it is on the left because it's being compared to this detail below in the gradient. So the clarity filter is really reaching quite a ways across the image to make its decisions. By comparison, texture is still creating a little bit of a halo here. It's still problematic, but not nearly as bad. And notice that it's not really doing much of any adjustment along these stripes. To make it easier to visualize this, I've created a difference comparison. So I've got the clarity adjustment in difference mode. I'm enhancing with levels and adding some color so we can see this is what clarity is doing to this image from before and after. These are the areas that are being adjusted. So the noise is being adjusted quite a bit. There's a lot going along this edge. The gradient is really being adjusted quite a bit in the shadow areas, but not as much in the brighter values. And then down below, we're adjusting at all levels of these bands, whether it be the fine detail or even out at 50 pixels, it's still adjusting these edges. And that's why clarity tends to show halos. By comparison, if we look at texture, you can see it's much more precise. It's not adjusting any of the noise and grain here, at least not in a very strong way. It's really focusing on the small details, and it's doing much less to exacerbate halos with the bigger details. So it really focuses on the small details in comparison to clarity, so they're just targeting different areas. I think this makes texture fairly predictable. You can see that it may have some halo issues along stark edges, but for the most part, it's going to work on small details, whereas clarity is a lot less predictable. Notice how much it's just changing different areas you might not expect in the image. And if we open up this smart object, let's just simply hide our noise layer on top. I'll hit Command S to save this back, close it, and now we're looking at the adjustment in clarity from, I'm going to undo with Command Z, before and after. So when we have the grain here, notice that clarity is going down. It's making this comparison to the overall value of the grain here and adjusting these shadows quite a bit, whereas when the grain is gone, it has different references and is making totally different decisions. So clarity can be a little unpredictable and you just need to experiment with it. But it's important to note that you do have the high risk of these halo edges, but the benefit of going after some bigger details that texture just simply is not going to get into those bigger details. So they both have their place. Now coming back to this original image, let's go ahead and make the adjustments that will really make this image sing. We need to add a raw adjustment here. So we'll go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. And what I want to do is first, let's take a look at texture, which notice how it's bringing out these fine stringy details of the water coming over the edges of this rock, which I think just really helps enhance the sense of motion and some of the detail there. So I like what that's doing. Let's zero that out and take a look at clarity, which is now getting after much bigger details, the other parts of the wave here. So they're playing together quite nicely. Texture brings out the small details, clarity brings out some of those bigger details, and I like how the two come together. So let's dial this in more around maybe the 30% mark on texture and clarity. And because clarity is darkened our shadows, let's bring up our shadows a bit here as well. And I'm going to push texture even further to make sure we really see the results there. But I think somewhere around there are about the right amount. We'll click OK, and just hitting Command Z to go before and after. See how much detail that brings to the water with clarity and the fine parts of water through texture. And we'll zoom in to 100% again, coming down here and just looking from before and after how much that's done for our water. There is a little bit of noise that I'm seeing here, and I don't know if that's the clarity of the texture. They both may affect that. So let's open up the raw filter and we go to the details tab and just add a little bit of luminance noise reduction, maybe like 10 to 20 points should be about right. And see how that smooths out the water there in a nice way. So if you have some issues like shadows or noise, you can make some other adjustments in Camera Raw to fix that. But we've overall got a really nice looking adjustment here from before to after. I just don't need it up above. So we'll use our Smart Filter Mask, hitting G for our gradient. Let's just draw a gradient that's going to filter us in down below. Maybe try a little bit different here. So now we have a nice adjustment of that water to really make the image sing. I might further dial back some of the edges here where I don't need as much adjustment. So I just switch to a black brush and sort of paint down that effect a little bit in places that may not need as much of that correction. Be sure to check out the written version of this tutorial on my blog, and be sure to click subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of the next tutorial.
Nice.
What do you think, guys?
Nice, really nice.
I've never used a texture slider.
My only thing is, it says in the bottom of the video that it's in Lightroom. He was actually in Photoshop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
The video said Lightroom and ACR.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was using the light net in Photoshop to show the different layers, but when you click the Camera Raw, that's the same as, it's actually basically the exact same thing as Lightroom. So the Camera Raw filter in Photoshop and Lightroom are the same two things.
Okay.
But it was a nice comparison of the two and a nice way of thinking about as far as using both of them to enhance different parts of the same picture. So you kind of maybe want to, I've used one or the other, but not too often use both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be rethinking my process there. On that when I'm using that. So thank you, Dennis. That was a good one.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Boy, everyone's dead quiet now.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting listening to how he was using it, because with some variation, that's exactly what I'm using over here, especially with these slides. I've had so many different kinds of exposures, so many overexposures and underexposures, and wrestling to find ways to get the very best with what's left of the slide after 15 or so years in an attic. And I'm doing the same thing. I'll use, as a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and say it. I found myself using the texture and clarity and shadow control and detail, the noise reduction part of detail, a lot in almost all of them, in order to do a better job of bringing back the actual structure, detail, and color.
How many photos do you have? Slides do you have, Rick?
I've already done 338, and I think I have another 200 in this new box. There's in the new box, there's in the new large box, there's 17 boxes, and so far I've done this. I've completed this many. This is this is box 5, okay? And box 1, and this is how I've been laying it, and I just unloaded a couple of them. But
So why are you doing this?
for a next door neighbor, she lost her husband. She lost her husband a year ago, and she had been taking care of him for many, many years. And this is something that she wanted to share with what's left of her family. Her daughter, who just got married, her sister, and her brother. So, and she is one of these people that has done so much for this block that I don't mind doing this. She's the one who orchestrates the summer get-togethers here on the block. You may have seen what I posted on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. Somebody on the block actually had the COVID and the COVID-19, and she found out, this person found out that the person was coming back from the hospital at 4 o'clock, and she had called us all in advance, all of us with phones or knocking on doors, getting us all to come out so that when she was driven up the street that we were all there to meet her. And I took my camera out and I was taking pictures of the get together. And I was making sure that I tried to make people look at least like they were 6 feet or more apart, although a couple of them were closer together. Now, husbands and wives and people that, you know, like some of these houses, they'll share the upstairs, and some of the units have downstairs, and they have family that are living with them. So there's a larger group of people that are cleared to be together. But we all had masks on. And her name is Monty, M-O-N-T-E. And Monty has the entertainment get-together, the Christmas party, the same day that we have yours, Margie. Almost always the same day. And hers is in the afternoon. So we're free to go. Carol and I are free to visit the celebrate, help you all come and celebrate with you at the Christmas party in December. But she does so much for everybody. She drives people. When there's a gentleman that lives at the end of the street who's actually very has been a part of the research for the it has done heart research, and he has his own issues now, and she drives him. And there's other people on the block, and she coordinates a lot of what goes on. We have a fund when somebody's been really ill. We have one person that will get the card. She'll get cards and she'll get flowers. And anyway, I'll sort of cut it off here, but she's done so much for everybody that I'm happy to do this. This is one thing I'm happy to do for her.
Good for you.
But it's the real learning curve here is in that panel in Lightroom, using the clarifier and texture, and actually studying it. I spend time studying just how much each does, and you can see where if you do it right, it's like a chef making a great meal. If you just pull together the capabilities of each one of those sliders in that panel, it's amazing what you can come up with. Maybe that's one of the things I should do. There were a couple that I thought, I'm not going to get anything from this. It just looked totally washed out. And if you look at it, you can say, this maybe doesn't look like the greatest image, but what you won't believe is what it came from. You know, I mean, if we think in terms of a 10, if we think in terms of something hanging on the wall as a 16 by 20, it's not that. This is just a slide that has been converted into digital so that it can be viewed on a screen. And it does a really good job of that. And I'll make sure that at one of our next sessions, if there's a moment to do it, I'll make sure that it's on this computer over here so that so we can share it. So you can see the difference that I'll show a couple, maybe 2 or 3 slides, and how they were turned from almost nothing into something that she'll be able to see herself as a 10-year-old, her younger brother, again.
Yeah, cool, Rex. We'd like to see that.
Okay, I'll pull something together.
Cool. Oh.
So do you want to look at a few photos?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I want to see some of your work from out west, out Phoenix.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get it to. So since I retired in 2016. A few times we've gone out west, and most of these are from the most recent winter that ended for us in March when we decided to come back here rather than shelter in place in Arizona. And there's not any particular logical order to them. They're just a group of photos that I picked. This one is at the Phoenix Botanical Garden. And I like the orientation of the branches and the fact that they all transcend the boundary. So the photo boundary is kind of constraining the tree. So I thought that was interesting. This is a photo, obviously it's a photo of an owl, and it's tethered. As you get, there's a glove in the bottom. And it was at a Christmas thing. So there was some group that saved these owls and brought them to show. In central Arizona, Eloy is the place. There's an airport where they do skydiving. And they claim it's the largest skydiving center in the world. But you can go and sit on the boundary all day and shoot photos. And I happened to be there when I had a moon, and I had this skydiver glider reasonably in the frame, so I made the photo. It is quite an interesting place to go. When it travels to Death, we hire a guide in Death Valley, Michael Gordon, who has a 4-wheel drive truck, knows where to go, knows when to go, and knows the nuances of being in Death Valley. And this is Zabriskie Point. And you likely have seen Michael Weston's photo of Zabriskie Point, which is incredibly dynamic. And we were there actually in late afternoon. This is a panorama that I made of the scene. This is Ubehebe Crater in Death Valley. Ubehebe is a steam volcano, so there's not a lot of ash around it, but there is a lot of erosion on the surface of the mountain, the caldera, that makes some very interesting photos. This is at Cotton Bowl Basin. And these are salt structures. They're small. I mean, the photo doesn't give it any scale, but it's these are like a 1/4 inch high. but it's gives some very interesting patterns. And there's water that flows down little rivulets and gives the nearby areas structure. So I made some interesting photos.
You know, it's something, Dennis, that when I first seen that picture, it kind of looked to me like it was an aerial picture of
Yeah,
something big.
yeah.
So
No, it does, and
it's very interesting.
yeah. This is also at this Cotton Ball Basin. And if you've been to Death Valley, the other end of this basin is the lowest point in North America, Badwater Basin. So the water that you see here flows down this, this gully and ends up in the salt flats of Badwater Basin. But I like this image. This is at sunrise. And I like the reflection, and it turned out to have some nice contrast. Another one at Cotton Ball Basin. Again, the water flows amongst these little structures. And these are probably 12 or 18 inches across. But it makes an unusual image. A creature at Phoenix Zoo. These are pink.
Flamingos.
What's that?
Flamingos.
Yeah, flamingo, some type of flamingo. They're not pink. These are actually white with pink heads. Some creatures in a lagoon at the Phoenix Botanical Garden. And I like the fact that they kind of lined up as a little group of individuals that gave some nice contrast with a flat background and the rippling white in the front. This is the intersection of a couple of cacti, lit, the shadows, as you can see where the sun comes in, the spines are lit. And then you have this wholly lit front cactus, and I thought it just made a nice image. I don't know what they are, but the sun was hitting them, and you got this little ripples of light and dark across the face of this cactus that I thought made a decent image. Color image. I'd like to. This is at Casa Grande, Arizona, where they have these little county rodeo arenas, and you can get to the fence. So I'm at the fence away from this bull rider, and I see the bull is. I don't think he lasted very long. Most of them don't. It's a hobby, and but there's some action here, and I was enticed by the white hats. White hats and the smiles the guy had watching this poor rider try and sit on this bull.
I've never seen one with a helmet on before.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know why they're not all killed, because you know, they're thrown off there, they go straight down, they hit the ground, and that bull, and those bulls are trained. He would just as soon pound him in the head as look at him. And so some of them wear protective gear, and some, being young males, don't.
Yeah, we usually had, in Texas, we always had hats on our guys.
Yeah.
And of course,
yeah.
the clowns would keep them away from them.
And we spent a little time in a couple of days. It's not a very interesting long family story, so I'll save it. But this is Point Lobos. We drove to Ventura, and then from Ventura up to Carmel by the Sea. And we spent a day in Point Lobos. There's a road that runs around the point, 17 miles, that has some outstanding locations to make some photographs. So I like these waves. In this one, I've got two. And then we did stay at a friend's house who likes to photograph. And we got up a morning and went in the morning and the evening to San Francisco to the Golden Gate Bridge. And this is before sunrise. Some area, I don't know what the name of it is, looking west at the Golden Gate Bridge. This is on the, I guess, east side of the bay. This is on the west side of the bay, or the south side of the bay, looking west. And the sun has come up, and it's lighting the bridge from the side. This is at sunset on Marin, the headlands of the Golden Gate Bridge, looking towards the city.
That's nice.
And the bridge is lit by lights, man-made lights, and the city is lit by natural lights. And I thought it made a decent image.
Yeah, it does.
This is the Reyes Lighthouse point. We're almost to the lighthouse, looking back east. Again, a very visually, there's a lot of photos to be made in these areas. And this is the lighthouse. You can't have,
That's beautiful.
obviously it's above. And I suppose if you had a boat, you could get down below the lighthouse, but we didn't have that opportunity. And you may recognize this. This is Dead Horse Point. This has nothing to do with this year, but I had it in the collection. This is at sunrise. You're above the Colorado River. And in some ways, it doesn't quite make it as a black and white. The color is pretty intense. But still, this is at Dead Horse Point as well. And this is some aged tree, and the gift was this white wispy cloud on the horizon. So that's what I thought maybe you'd enjoy it.
Oh, the angle of the light for that last one, the angle of the light, the way the light comes from the far right and hits it on the back side, slightly from the back quarter, was beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Pictures. Thanks for sharing.
Stunning.
Welcome.
Really
Very
nice.
stunning.
Thanks, Dennis.
We should do a Westmoreland photographer trip to Death Valley.
Yeah,
I'm in.
I'm in.
We could arrange that. It's stunning. I mean, you could spend weeks in Death Valley. And it's not like you think it's hot and dry. In January, it's not hot. And there's a lot of water in Death Valley. We hired a guy we've done it twice. We hired him Michael Gordon's his name. And he's a great photographer, great naturalist, environmentalist. But he has a truck. And he took us out for 3 sunrises and 3 sunsets. Both times we've done it, and it was great.
I think he used to teach large format classes at
I think he
Death
did.
Valley.
I think he did.
Yeah.
I'll ask him about it. I wouldn't mind going back and ask him what the arrangements would need to be.
Dennis?
Yeah.
You have all the material for a high class coffee table book.
Yeah.
Everything there, it's beautiful. And you have enough. You have more than enough to produce a really nice book.
You gonna buy it?
Only one.
I'll buy a copy.
When you get the price down so that people in our neighborhood can buy one.
book at $29.95.
I'll give you that in advance, okay?
Yeah.
I'll give you that in advance. I think I trust you that much.
Yeah, I would buy a copy of it.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
Very nice.
Well, it does make me want to try more black and whites because I love colored pictures, as Brian knows, but after seeing some of yours, I'm definitely going to try more black and whites.
I've only been arguing with her for how many years now to start trying black and white.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dennis. All you had to do was show some pictures.
See?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to say I'll ever be as good as Dennis, but it's worth a try to experiment anyway.
I can say that y'all know that I did pretty much a full year of black and white, and I loved it. It was good. It was nice to just look at things in that shadow and highlight and gray and stuff like that. So it was different to think of everything that I photographed for a year of a final product being a black and white photo. So if you want to try it, do that. Say, hey, this month, everything I photograph is going to be a final product black and white. And it makes you think about your pictures a little differently.
Yeah. Teaches you more about light.
Definitely.
Well, it teaches you about light, but it also teaches you about color. Because there are times when color matters. I mean, if you're going to do a pink sunrise, color is pretty important. And if you convert it to black and white, that impact goes away or it changes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's funny you say that, Brian. That's why I started to do black and white. I call it my COVID challenge.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes it's better to do it as a challenge to yourself and like I said, I did it for a year, which is long, but if you say to yourself, I'm going to do it for a month or two, don't do it for a day, don't do it for a week, because you don't really get anything out of it. But if you spend some time with it, you'll see how your photography changes over that period of time when you really start thinking about what your final product's going to look like and what it's going to look like in black and white. So I've always challenged myself to different things like that, and I think that's helped me over the years. Sometimes I'll go through a period of time where I only shoot with one lens, and it's never the average lens that everyone would carry. Margie, you're 28 to 900.
I like my 18 by 200. I can't get away from it.
It's something I recommend. Like I've done several times where we've went out to do a street photography thing or something, and I've picked the weirdest lens to use and say that's the lens I'm going to use. Like
absolutely.
A straight 180 millimeter lens. I have one of those, and sometimes I'll go and say I'm going to do street photography with that today.
Zoom with your feet.
Yeah.
The last strip one we did. Photo op we did, I used a 50 millimeter all that time.
Right. I believe several of us did that day, actually. So
that was a first for me.
All those kind of things like that will challenge your thought process and your vision of what your photos are going to look like. And you have to really start thinking about what it is that you're going to do to get to the point of what you want people to look at. I've been on a 35 millimeter kick now since we were in Ohio last, and almost the only lens that's been on my camera for quite a while now, actually. And that's a different kind of lens because it's not really, really wide, but it's not close either. So.
Hello, Sarge.
Oh, anybody else got anything?
Well, I am looking for something to replace the 18 by 200 for the full frame. Does anybody got any idea?
What's wrong with your 18 by 200?
It's not a
crop.
It's what?
It's a crop. It's for a crop sensor.
Oh.
And
I
I
have a
got
24 by 105 that I use a lot. It's a Canon. I don't know if you shoot Canon or not, but I
Yeah,
love it. It's on my
nice.
camera virtually all the time.
in Nikon.
You know, there's probably one in Nikon that's comparable, but that 24 to 105 is a great range because it's very wide on the full sensor, but yet 105 gives you a little bit of zoom, not as much as I would like, but as somebody said earlier, just zoom in with your feet when you have to. It's a great travel lens as far as I'm concerned.
Well, sometimes you can't not go off a cliff. So,
Well, that's true, but
I used to use a 24 to 105 on my Nikon, and that was a good lens. I did like that range of lens.
is that a crop sensor?
It was back then, but I'm pretty sure they make it in an FX now.
so I can get better because I had that 24 by 105 on my when I had a crop sensor, and I liked this extra zoom, but I never had enough wide angle, so I always carried an 11 by 18 wide angle lens with me. So now I only carry the one lens, so I like it much better. I do lose a little bit on the zoom side, but I don't shoot that much high zoom pictures anyway.
Well, Margie, how much you want to spend?
Not over $1,000.
I get you close. Maybe you can look around a little bit. This isn't a 2.8 lens, but it is an f4 lens.
And F4 is fine.
Mine's an f4 too, so.
You know, in some cases, the difference between an f2.8 and an f4, depending on what you're going for, you can get really good results from an f4. When I read some of the, go ahead, sure.
Yeah, my 18 by 200 is an f4, and I can get some pretty sharp pictures with a tripod with that. So, that is.
There you go, Margie. I got one up on the screen. That's a 24 to 120 f4 Nikon lens, and that is an FX format. So that's a full size size format for you.
Yeah,
That's sweet coverage right there for a portrait photographer or a photographer that just likes to work in that zone.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
So it was really close. You said not over $1,000. It was only 100 over $1,000. So.
Oh, I'm sure I can get it cheaper.
Nice find, Brian. Nice find.
I used to use a lot of zoom lenses. I only have one now. I have an 80 to 200. All my other lenses that I have are all prime lenses, and I have really kind of fallen in love with just shooting with a prime lens. So I have a 24, 35, 50, 70, 85, and 180, and a 150. Sorry, 150 and a 180.
Yeah, but you put them in a backpack and you take off. I mean, I can't really even carry a backpack, so let alone, I want something that I can use if I decide to take off and walking. I want something where I can use one lens. I don't want to have to take 2 or 3 lenses with me.
Well, that's the challenge part. I take all those lenses with me in my backpack, and I put the backpack in the back of my truck. And then when I get somewhere where I'm going to go, I ain't going to carry all that with me, and then I pick one lens.
That's what I'm doing, and it's usually the 18 by 200. It can do everything, So I like that one.
But then you don't have the challenge of trying to get that moving around a little bit. That's the 50 and a 35 are really good ones for teaching you how to move around and think about your photos.
Well, I used to move around with my 35 millimeter quite a bit, so I can move around. Yeah, I believe that. But I would like to in places where I can't move around, like I said, if there's a cliff there, I don't want to move too far. There's, you know, there are places where maybe on the other side of the street, and I want to zoom in on the other side of the street, because if I go on the other side of the street, I may be too close. So, you know, there's situations where I may need the wide angle lens or the zoom lens. Oh, hush, I like my 18 by 200. I mean, it's a more economical lens compared to some of the other lenses I have, which, you know, are very expensive. But I always go back to the cheaper lens.
Oh, this is a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush.
Yes.
In this case, the lens, the camera and the lens in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like something that weighs about a pound.
Yeah.
That's my iPhone.
It's a nice range. No, you know, Rex holds up the iPhone, and the camera on an iPhone is outstanding.
Yeah, and
Yeah, but you're talking about I could buy a lens for that camera that
For the
even I
same
can
price
not
as the
for
phone.
iPhone.
No, that's true. Oh, they give great reports on this new SE, this $400 iPhone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I read today that the review was quite high. It doesn't have the, it has the quality of the iPhone, whatever it is, 11.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the wide angle and it doesn't have the zoom. It has one lens. But they say the images are outstanding.
Wow. Something to check into. I'm still at a 9.7. I haven't made that leap up to the 11. And the only reason I would was for the camera on there. But I like to have more control, you know, on my settings. I really do. I'm not one to just, and I don't mind taking pictures with the iPhone, but I prefer to have more control.
Well, we've talked about iPhone photography multiple times, and with the right app and your iPhone, you can control a lot of what's going on there.
Yeah, I have the same apps I think you have on mine. But even without that, we can still get some good pictures. I mean, you've seen my pictures with the iPhone.
Yeah, absolutely. The iPhone, as Dennis said, has an amazing camera.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that photo contest that I talked about right at the beginning with the shoot and share, they have a phone picture category. So all the pictures in that were taken in a phone. And I'm gonna tell you, there's some amazing pictures in that category.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot that can be done with your that thing you carry in your phone in your pocket, but you don't use it to talk on. You know. I don't know if anyone actually uses the phone part of a phone anymore.
TV screen.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
What?
But yeah, there's a lot of things, and we did some contests last year with the phone pictures and stuff like that, and I've definitely attempted and fooled around with the phone photos, and I can tell you I get some nice results out of just the iPhone app itself, not without going into the other apps or anything like that.
Yeah, I rarely use my phone to take pictures. Can you shoot RAW and capture RAW with the phone?
Not mine.
You can on the iPhone with the right application added to it.
Okay.
What is the HEIF extension?
That is an Apple extension.
Yeah.
It's a high definition extension, but it's Apple's extension.
Mm-hmm. And it is something like a RAW file. It has a lot of data that can be expanded on.
It has more data than a JPEG, but it's not a RAW.
Okay.
There's some apps that I have on my phone that will allow me to shoot TIFF files, so that gives me a lot more data out of the files. and
Yeah.
they were a lot bigger when I download them to the computer. They're much bigger files.
Mhm.
And you can make quite a bit of adjustments on them that way if you're using that app and using it to save TIFF files rather than JPEGs.
Well, what is the name of the app?
I knew he was going to say that, and I can't remember. I got 400 apps on my phone. Give me a minute, and I'll look.
It's like
Well-
Camera Plus.
Yeah, I've got.
I know Camera Plus 2 does a fair amount.
Here's, let me see if I can do this. There's camera 2 right there.
All right.
Light, whoa, there's, hello? Okay. Camera 2. Whoop, what did it go back? It went back. Here we go. Camera 2 is 1. I think I got that from you, Brian. I put that on because I thought that it would help round out what I'm doing. And then, of course, you see there's Lightroom over there too.
Yeah.
So,
That's the Lightroom.
and that's the one, I think that is, that uses the, let me bring it up. I'm struggling to find the,
Camera Plus
Yeah,
2
the
definitely
info.
does a RAW file, which is a TIFF file when you save it.
yeah, there it is right there. Okay, let me see if I can, no, I can't expand it, but I can put it there. Oh, it's too out of exposure. Exposure won't work. Okay, but it says HEIF and the 28 millimeter f1.8 P3. Okay.
Okay, and what did you say?
IS.
Camera Plus 2.
Okay, that's the same thing.
That one will, if you go into the settings and tell it to, it will save its version of a RAW file, but when you download it from the phone, it's a TIFF file. But it is a much bigger file than your standard picture out of your iPhone. And it definitely gives you a lot more to work with in Lightroom or Photoshop if you're going to make adjustments to that picture.
Okay.
And then for Dennis, there's a thing called Carbon, which is a really good black and white converter for iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that one. That's a pretty nice one. It does a pretty good job. There's so many, when you go to the Apple store and start looking at apps for your camera for your iPhone, you could spend days looking at all the different ones that are there. And I have downloaded a lot of them, but not all of them.
Have you used all of them?
I've tried most of the ones that I've downloaded at least once or twice, and then sometimes they go into a folder and I never look at them again. Sometimes they just get deleted. And then the ones that I like, they stay out to where I can find them easier.
Okay.
But Camera Plus 2 is on the front screen of my group of apps on my phone. So,
Well, I know I got one app from you, and I don't remember what it is. I'll have to look at my phone.
oh yeah, there's Carbon is for black and white. I have
I know we used it up at
Pro Camera. Snap
Then-
Speed is for if you're going to. Snap Speed is actually pretty good for
That's the one I have.
adjustments.
I like Snapseed.
There's another one called Darkroom, In Light. I have a bunch, but
Yeah, it's Snap Speed is the one that I use.
yeah, Snap Speed allows you to do your editing. It's not too bad for editing.
Right.
But actually, the Lightroom you can do Lightroom on your iPhone. That works better.
I've got it.
And Photoshop on your iPhone is pretty good too. Or I have Photoshop on my iPad, so I take my pictures and they show up on my iPad, then I can adjust them in Photoshop there.
Okay.
And I've almost completed a master course in iPad Photoshop that I got for free. So there's all kind of stuff. I mean, it's just a matter of what do you want to do, you know. Right now my photos are filled with pictures of cars and people's driver's license.
The parts of the car. Yeah. Have you sold any cars?
Yeah, I sold 2 this week so far.
Wow.
1 last week, and I've got 1 going out tomorrow, so that'll be 3 this week, and I got 1 that's going to Florida sometime either this week or next week, and a couple others that I'm in the negotiation process with right now. So
Who delivers them?
what do you mean delivers them?
Well, the one going to Florida. You're going to get in there and drive it? Huh?
If I was, you'd be going with me.
You know it.
No, we're not allowed to do that. They have to come to the garage and pick them up.
Oh.
That's the 37 seconds that they're allowed in the garage with their mask on. Next to the people that's been there for 3 hours while they're getting their car worked on. I'm not going to start again, I promise.
Can you deliver a car to a house?
No, not right now.
No.
Not allowed. Well, actually, you're not really allowed to most of the time because of Pennsylvania state law doesn't allow the signatures and the paperwork to be done anywhere but in a financial office.
Oh.
So
They had changed that.
not yet.
There have been ads on TV that made it sound like they've changed it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, not according to the information that we have at the dealership. They still require it to be done in the financial office.
A couple things on lease cars. The first one is our navigation system quit. It lost all its information, all of the PO points of interest that we had, and we had to have it repaired. They came and picked it up, took it, fixed it, and brought it back. So we never even had to leave the house, and we got our lease car fixed. The second question was, what do you think about leasing yourself? We find we like leasing because we're always getting, every 3 years, we'll get the latest updates in the navigation and anything else that comes along, safety devices, things like that.
Well, I'll give you my spiel on leasing.
Sure.
First off, the repair part is different. If the service garage is allowed to go out and pick cars up and bring them back and work on them and then take them back to the house. We're not allowed to sell them. So that's the reason that was allowed to be done. Leasing, in my opinion, is a really good way of buying a vehicle if you don't drive a lot of miles.
Yeah.
Now, like me personally, you guys all know that I can't stay out of my vehicle except for the month that they told us to not leave the house. I did stay.
Yeah.
But you guys all know that I do a lot of driving. So me personally, leasing is not an option because I drive more than 15,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
If you drive in that between 10 and 15,000 mile a year range, leasing is the better way to go because in 3 years, you haven't wore your car out. You don't have to replace the tires. Most likely the brakes aren't wore out. You have basically no maintenance that you have to do to the car. You take it back, turn it in, get another one, and start over again.
That's what we're doing.
So
we bought it in 18, and it only just now has about 15,000, a little over 15,000 miles on it.
See, so
but we have perfect cars, so we go back and forth. I have the little red Fusion, so that cuts the miles on the lease car.
Yeah, that's perfect. But if you do a lot of driving, it makes no sense at all.
Well, I don't know if it would make sense for me either. I thought about leasing, but I mean, I've had my car for 5 years and I got 25,000 on it. So I don't think, I don't use my car as much. She
Yeah,
put the mileage on it, so it's like a new car with the.
but Margie, you're also not a person that wants to get a new car every 3 years.
No, well, I don't know. I came close to looking at that new Subaru they got out. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Call Brian tomorrow, he'll fix you up.
Huh?
Call Brian tomorrow, he'll fix you up.
With a Subaru?
I'm sure
No,
you can arrange that.
unfortunately, that's one of the brands we don't have. We have all the American brands now. We actually sell all the American brand cars at this point.
I hate to interrupt,
Yes.
but I have to get going.
Okay.
So I will
Yeah.
see
I'm
everybody.
gonna take off as well.
Bye-bye.
Yes,
Bye, Melissa.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah. I need to get going too. I gotta get
All
Nate
right,
to
guys.
bed so he can get up for school.
I
And
guess
Sadie
it's
kept
not-
jumping in my lap because she wants to go out.
Hey,
No
Dee,
rest for the weary.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
could go up, Sadie could go upstairs and ask Nate to go out or ask Ken to go out, but she has to jump in my lap to go out.
You don't have a puppy door?
No. No, because they can't wipe their own feet when they come in.
Have you seen the size of her dogs? And she doesn't need a puppy door. She needs a garage door.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like being next door with the Saint Bernard, yeah. He's
Yeah.
got a puppy door for his Saint Bernard.
Well, they have those half doors like in barns.
Yeah.
That's about what we need. But
Happy Mother's Day.
yeah.
Oh, DL. When is the opening for the
Oh, yeah.
Art All Night thing?
Shit. Next Saturday.
So starting next Saturday, we can put pictures in.
Starting Monday. No, registration is happening right now.
You, right there.
Uh-oh.
Mine's clawing in my lap too, 100-pounder. Oh, big sissy.
They're going to have it online, right, DL?
Say again?
They're going to have it
I
online.
always think that
Everything's online.
Just the nose.
There's no reason for none of us to not participate in Art All Night this year, because you don't have to leave your house to participate. So don't forget about that. It is in the newsletter. I did send the newsletter out today. Marty, I apologize for that being so late. But I forgot, and Jim reminded me last night, so it's out today.
I saw it. So it
I
didn't-
saw you sent it.
Okay. That was not
All right.
Marty's fault in any way, shape, or form. That was all on me, guys.
He had it done a few days beforehand.
Yes, she did. I had to go back in my email ways to find it too. Wow.
I was a good girl this time.
So yeah, check out the newsletter and the Art All Night, and put some pictures in there and participate in that. Make that give them the opportunity to make that just good as they can this year with it being digital and not in their old format. So I'm glad they figured out a way to keep that going.
It's interesting. I mean, it sounds simple to go and set up a website and post a bunch of pictures and videos and stuff like that until you sit down and actually start to do it. And then it's, wow. There's a lot of work that's going into it. It's almost as tough as a real show. The only difference between this and the real show is that the real show gets, well, you're running for 24 hours as opposed to this. It's just all the prep work and then turn it on.
Yeah. Wow. Like I said, I'm glad they're still doing it, and they figured out a way to do it. So
Well, I've not been to one. Do they man tables? How do they have shifts?
Oh,
I mean, they
the
can't
live
be there.
show? Well, the live show is interesting because we're collecting artwork from about 1,000 artists, and that could be whether it's photographs or sculptures or dance performances, live bands, videos, stuff like that. And
Oh.
we usually get a large warehouse or just a large space, and we fill it up with stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is sort of like America's Got Talent on steroids.
It's interesting. And basically, we open the doors at 4 o'clock, and people come in, and we're always surprised at how many people are waiting in line to come in at 4 o'clock. Throughout the 22 hours that we have the show, we get about 10 to 15,000 people to come through there.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can buy artwork through there, can't you?
Well, what we do is it's more of a bidding process. Each piece will have a tag next to it with contact information for the artist and also a registration number. And you can take that registration number and put in a bid. At the end of the show, we take all the bids for that and hand it off to the artist. Then the artist will contact you.
It's still going to be like that online too, right?
I'm not quite sure about that. That's still up in the air, but I'm pushing them to do that again. It's just the right thing to do,
Yeah.
But I don't quote me on that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that would be nice if they could do it online.
Yeah, it's just I think it's just a matter of them coming up with the proper forms and the way to tabulate that, another database. But that's more back end stuff that I don't do.
How many entries can one person have?
One.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So what you could do is if you could do like a collage of 2, 3, 4, 5 images onto one image and send that in.
Okay.
If you only allow one entry.
How big are you allowed?
Whatever size you want. It's going to get resized to fit the website anyways.
No, okay.
Yeah. In the live show, whatever size you want.
Okay.
I mean, people have done paintings that are, 12 feet long, all kinds of materials. One guy, a couple of years back, he had this piece of metal. It's probably 15 feet long and 8 feet tall, and he just used like a grinder to grind an image into this piece of steel. Yeah, that was interesting. You had to bring that in ahead of the show.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to see
Yours
this year. They will be showing each of the art pieces, right? This year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever gets submitted.
All right.
years ago, a couple of years, maybe 2-3 years ago, I probably could find it if I looked hard enough, was a woman that was an artist that used explosives. And what she did is you reminded me of it, DL, when you said a metal sheet.
Mm-hmm.
She would have different metals, different, like she might have copper one time or use zinc or something else another time, but that would become her finished work after the explosives. And she would put explosives on the sheet and then detonate it. Yeah. And I don't know if she used colors or how she went about it. Dennis, maybe you've heard of her or know of her, but that is, I've thought about the many different kinds of art and creating art there is. I never heard of explosives as the form of delivering art to a surface that's going to be the final work.
Sounds fun.
I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah.
I seen one not too long ago where they were taking a sheet of metal out into an area, and then they would lay on top of that, they would set cans of spray paint and then shoot the cans of spray paint with a gun and allow them to explode on top of the piece of metal, and then show that as their piece of artwork afterwards.
That sounds like fun.
Tape a banana on
it. Yeah, tape a banana to it, and they could sell it for $3 million.
There you go.
But
okay.
I've been to the Art All Night live show, and the time that I was, the one time that I was there was people there that were doing paintings that were, as DL said, they were 8 feet high and 4 feet, 4, 6, 8 feet wide.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Paintings that they were painting while you were there watching.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm going to miss. Last year, I think we had they work in pairs. I think we had probably 30 pairs of people painting live. As the doors open at 4 o'clock, they are already starting their painting, and some of them are there literally all night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually they'll get to do these again in real time live. And when they do that, I highly recommend going and spending at least a couple hours there. You don't have to go and spend the whole night, but go and spend a couple hours at one of their live shows. It's definitely well worth going to watch and look around and see all the different things that are going on and being able to see all the art in person. So
Regarding the fireworks, explosive art, on Netflix, there's a video of a Chinese guy, and the title is Sky Ladder. And he wants to make fireworks that reach into the sky. I've seen that. And it's well worth a watch. Sky Ladder.
okay. Cool. Well, guys, it's about 15 after 9. It was a nice talk session. Got to see some cool stuff. Dennis, thanks for showing your pictures. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you're welcome. Anytime.
That was good.
I posted a link to one of the Art All Night videos in the chat. If you guys want to take a look at it, it's about 2-3 minutes long.
Where did you post it? Oh, in
It's in the
chat?
chat.
Okay, I see.
But it's not active.
Yeah, it's not.
I got it up on my screen. If you guys,
If you click on the orange one, you can see it.
I
if
did.
you guys want to watch it, it's 2 minutes and 41 seconds. You want to watch
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me get that screen shared there for you.
Let me get my notes. Turn the page here.
Okay, can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
You make it full screen.
What's that?
Full
Make it
screen.
full size.
Lower. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's a little too full.
There we go. Okay.
ahead,
Very
Smith.
nice.
There you go. Thanks, Deal.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you.
And that's, I mean, that's a really good representation of what it was like when I was there. It's just, there's something going on everywhere you look.
Is it virtual this year or is it still live?
It's right now it's going to be virtual. If we get the opportunity to do a live show, we're going to do a live show this year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, guys, I'm going to sign out.
Okay, Rex.
Yeah, me too. My dogs are crying.
Have a good night.
See y'all next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Night.
All right,
Good
guys.
time.
All right.
I
Yeah.
go,
Cheerio.
we'll go ahead and end the whole meeting for everyone, I guess, at this point. So,
Sounds good.
guys, thank you very much. We'll see you later.